Hello, folks, and welcome to Not Tucker Carlson Tonight. Not tonight. Not any other night. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm 2 minutes late, guys. It's the first time I've been late, too. I'm really disappointed in myself. I was having some technical difficulties on my end. I almost did an emergency stream during the day today because, geez, wow, Tucker's gone. It's just, I didn't. You kind of saw it coming, but you didn't expect it. I mean, I don't think he expected it either, just right out of the blue. But how is everybody doing? I am so glad you could join. This is episode 12 of CaliBased, and I'm so happy you could join me. I am streaming live on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. I'm not streaming on Twitter because I'm protesting against Elon. That's right, Elon. You got to monetize me if you want me to stream over there on Twitter. It's messed up. All the little people are just sitting over there in purgatory, but it's fine. We'll protest you like Bud Light. I don't drink Bud Light anyway. All right, so yeah, a lot going on with the whole Tucker deal. I mean, that's following up with Dan Bongino not being able to reach an agreement with the contract. That's coming off the Elon Musk interview. It's coming off of the Dominion lawsuit crap. It's what else? It's and it's coming right after the Ray Epps interview. So Tucker's not going to have a chance to respond to the Ray Epps interview on his show. So I'll have to do it for him. I'll stand up for you, Tucker. I got your back, bro, because you had my back. So many of you know my sort of backstory, but for those of you that may have joined a little later on, Tucker Carlson has a lot to do with my backstory and why I'm streaming tonight. I've been wanting to do live streaming for a long time. Well, it started off as I wanted to do a podcast back in the day, like back in 2014, 2015. I've been trying to convince my buddy to do it with me forever. And then I was trying to convince another buddy to do it with me forever. And just nobody ever wanted to do it. And, well, I just kept procrastinating and never got around to it. And my best friend even gave me really all the stuff I needed to do it. I mean, not like a big fancy setup or anything, but he gave me everything I need to do it because he's that cool of a dude. And I still never did it. And I always felt bad about it too, because I really had everything that I needed to do this the whole time. And unfortunately, it took me getting fired to do it. And it was getting fired for not wearing a mask. I know some of you guys know this story already. Bear with me. I'm going to tell it again. So back in early February of 2020, I was working on a job site in Pacific Heights in San Francisco. And I'm an AV guy. It's audio, video. We do like smart homes and stuff for extremely wealthy people. And it was a job that I had been on for over a month already. And it's called a pre-wire. So we just come in and we wire the whole house, while all the sheetrock's down and everything. The house is it's all just studs. It's all just sticks. There's no, everybody's putting in their plumbing, everybody's putting in their electrical, and we're running our wires and stuff too. So that's all this job is. And something got changed. So we had to come back and do something that was going to take maybe like 6 hours worth of work. It wasn't even a full day worth of work. And I've been working there the whole time already without a mask on, because it's February of 2023. I think I said 2020 earlier. February of 2023, I'm working on this job site. And, COVID's over. COVID's freaking over. Even in the Bay Area, this is San Francisco, Pacific Heights, like the wokest of the woke, the bougiest of the bougie people. And, well, they decided to bring back a mask mandate in February of 2023. And the dude I'm working with comes up to me and he hands me a mask and he says, hey, they got a mask mandate on the job site. And I was just I seriously thought he was like joking. Like I didn't think it was serious. I just looked at him and I said, I will not comply. Just like tongue in cheek, joking, but serious. Like I wasn't going to. And I think the foreman heard me because we were working on also, this is a house that, to sort of paint a picture, it's in Pacific Heights of San Francisco. If you don't know San Francisco, this is the area that's like the top of the hill overlooking the bay where the Golden Gate Bridge is right there. You got the Palace of Fine Arts right there. It's a magnificent view. You can see Alcatraz, you can see across the Golden Gate Bridge to San Rafael, and it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful. And this is a 5-story home with a rooftop deck. They're narrow houses, but I mean, it's 5 freaking stories. It's a bazillion-dollar home. Who knows how much this house costs? Just to sort of paint a picture. So we're on like the 4th floor, and that's where the foreman's got his like little table, his little office setup and everything. And I think he heard me say I will not comply. And he comes like making a beeline right at me, and he hands me a mask. And I just said, what will happen if I decide not to wear one? Or will I not be allowed on the job site if I say I won't wear one? And he like immediately goes into his thing. Well, just to make a long story longer, I ended up getting kicked off the job site, and I ended up getting fired the next day. I mean, there's more details to it than that, which I've talked about endlessly online. You can find my story, but I ended up making a video on my way home after I got fired and just posting it to Twitter. And by the time I got home, the damn thing had exploded. A bunch of people picked it up. Like, I think the first person to retweet it was my homie Forest Mommy, who strangely like started following me when I was just a tiny account. I had like 200 followers or whatever on Twitter, and Forest Mommy was just like a cool person. She followed me back, and she made me laugh, and I made her laugh. So that was it. She saw my video, she retweeted it, and then like Clown World retweeted it, and Cat Turd retweeted it. Like a bunch of big accounts did, and it just sort of blew up. And next thing I know, I'm getting DMs from Tucker Carlson's booking agent. Lexi, shout out. I hope all is well. I mean, man, that's got to be a lot that's going on in your world right now too. I can only imagine. So, Lexi, you're a homie. I hope everything's going well with you guys, for real. If you need any help, if Tucker needs a job, Lexi, if both of you guys need a job, I can't pay you guys, but if you want to be on my show, you're fully welcome. I mean, Tucker will have to be the guest host. He can't. I mean, I'm the main attraction. I'm the star. Okay, Tucker, you're gonna have to deal with it, buddy. But if you guys need a job, just let me know if you guys want to hang out. Anyway, so Lexi hits me up and she asked me if I wanted to come on Tucker, and I shit my pants. First thing, I pooped in my underwear, and after I cleaned myself up, I got back to Lexi and I set it up. And well, the funny thing is that was like the farthest one out, and then all of a sudden, my buddy over at InfoWars hit me up, and I ended up on Owen Schroyer's show. And then Allison at Large over at OAN hit me up, and I ended up on her show. And I ended up on Forest Mommy. Forest Mommy, you were the first show I did though, so you're the shit. And yeah, so it sort of blew up, and then I ended up on Tucker. And that's like when things really blew up. And it was just a 3-minute segment about me not wearing a mask at the end of his show. It was just like a throwaway segment for him. It was nothing. But this sort of like changed my life. Like, the video going viral was the first thing that changed my life because it put me on Tucker Carlson's show. But then, going on Tucker's show did something that I hadn't really thought about. I hadn't really thought about it when I made the video, was that now any employer that Googles my name, this comes up. All this stuff comes up. The video that I'm making tonight will come up. Everything, all the content, my opinions, my views, everything. And this has made potential employers act very strange as of late. So I get interviews set up, and then all of a sudden it's no call, no show. It's a bunch of people expressed tons of interest in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they ghost me. And it's, exactly what happens. Like, I look like a really good candidate. My resume is really good for my career, what I've been doing for a very long time. I've got a lot of certifications, and I just know how to do a lot of stuff in the AV world, and I've been doing it a long time. I'm not the best AV guy on earth. I never claimed to be, but I have been doing it a long time, and I have a very good work ethic. I'm always on time, and I have a lot of energy. Anyway, people don't want to hire me now, though, and I sort of directly attribute that to going on Tucker. And you'd think that would be a bad thing, and it kind of is. It's scary as hell, but it's made me double down on this show. And at first, this was just, I was going to go on and talk about stuff, but this is turning into something. It's people are reaching out to me that I didn't expect to reach out to me. And people are encouraging me on the show that I didn't expect to be encouraging me. And it seems that I'm actually talking about stuff that people are interested in, and it's drawing some attention. Not a ton at all. But I'm really enjoying this, and I've never worked harder. I'm putting in more hours of work doing this now than I had ever in my other career. And I love it. And I can't stop. I'm up every day at 6:37. I'm asleep at 1. And it's nonstop work. And if I could make this my job, that I would then be living the American dream. And I had sort of given up on that. I figured that I was just going to be working for somebody else and hating my life for the rest of my life. I'd sort of become resigned to that. And it's funny because the 4 years leading up to when I went on Tucker, it's sort of all culminated to that moment. I quit drinking. I quit social media. I started back up again, but for different reasons. But then I started the ultra marathon running. I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I just started putting myself in really uncomfortable situations and doing it consistently and working really hard towards. At first, I thought I was going to be really good at ultra running, and I soon figured out that, man, there's some people that are just too fast. I'll never compete with the top of the top. But I, for some reason, wanted to be as good as I could possibly be at ultra marathon running, and I would go ham. I would go crazy. I would put in way too much work, go way too hard, and injure myself. And anyway, I just kept putting in work, and I developed this whole new work ethic and way of looking at life and approach towards life. And it ended up getting me fired. If you really think about it, like this whole, I could have easily just put on the mask, and everybody else does. Even people that say they're conservatives, I never wore the mask, this and that. Well, how pressured were you? Was your job ever on the line? Like, were you ever put in a really uncomfortable situation where to make the situation stop being uncomfortable, you just had to put the mask on? Were you ever in that position? Because if you weren't, then, I mean, did you really have to put up a fight? Did you really have to resist this stuff? Or did you just have to just avoid it? Because it isn't fun. It isn't fun fighting against this shit and everybody looking at you and calling you a conspiracy theorist and calling you an anti-vaxxer. So around here, everybody hates you. And there's nobody that's going to stick up for you. You're on your own, man. And it takes a certain mentality to do it, even at the slightest level. When the mask mandate was going on, there were so many people who were like, "Yeah, just wear it. Just wear it." Even people that, called themselves a conservative, didn't take the vaccine. They hated the mask. They didn't think they did anything. They would all just put them on, because they didn't want to have conflict, because they didn't want to put up a stink, because they didn't want to be uncomfortable. Well, I think putting myself in uncomfortable situations for that many years led me up just putting my foot down, saying, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And that got me fired. But then it got me on Tucker Carlson. And then it forced me to do what I was already doing, going down rabbit holes, but I had no direction. I was just, tinfoil conspiracy brain guy. Guilty. But now it's forcing me to look at specific topics and go very into detail to find out exactly what's going on and then bring that to you. So if I could spend my entire day just aggregating what I think are the most important stories, learning as much as I can about them, and then presenting that information to you in as unbiased of a way as I possibly can, and then giving you my opinion on it, if I could do that every day for you guys, well, it'd also be for myself because I love doing that. That would be my dream. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm still a member of the union. I'm still paying my union dues, but there ain't a lot of sound and communications calls right now. I'm local 595, IBEW, sound and communication. And there's no sound and communication calls right now, and that's probably the only way I'm going to actually get a job within my field right now, because it's, you go and you take a job call and you show up. Like, it's not, they don't have time to Google my name. So they'll have to find out all this stuff after I'm already working for them, and then I'll make it uncomfortable to fire me. But in the meantime, I'm doing this. I'm going to go hard on this, and I would like to get to the point where I could do one of these every day. And if I worked harder and worked smarter, I could do that. Anyway, so with all that said, if you guys do want to support me, go over to my locals. I would greatly appreciate it, especially if you just canceled your Fox News subscription or whatever. I am putting a ton of work into this, and I'm putting a lot of my own money into this. So there's so much that goes into this that I didn't know about. So freaking ignorant. I didn't know. I didn't know that I did. Even with live streaming, there's still some video editing that you have to learn about. There's still all sorts of different software that you need. I ordered a Stream Deck. I'm getting that tomorrow to help things run a little smoother. Just setting this crap up, it's a lot of work, way more than I thought. But I can't stop doing it, and I love it. So this is what I want to do. So yeah, I did set up a locals page. I haven't put any content on it yet because I don't know what to offer as exclusive content. So right now, this is what I'm doing. I'm working. And if you guys want to support me, you can go over to my locals. That's where it's at. Link is in the description below. There's other ways to support me in there as well. But I would like to actually build something on locals. It looks like a very cool platform. So I want to put together like actual hikes where we can meet up and I take you guys to Henry Cowell and I put you guys to work. I'll make you guys keep up with me. I can hopefully get my buddy to go with me and be on the backside, make sure we don't lose anybody along the way. I want to start building community and that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's a really long-winded way of saying that going on Tucker Carlson's show made me pursue my dream. So I owe a lot to Tucker. He probably doesn't remember me, and I wouldn't expect him to. I mean, he's got a brand new 3-minute segment guest on every day, and I wouldn't remember me. All I did is not put a mask on. And it still amazes me that that's all it takes to stand out in California or in the Bay Area. All right. So that's sort of my spiel. Let me get to the real reason that Tucker Carlson was canceled. You guys probably don't know about this. I'm the only one that knows about this, but people think that Tucker Carlson got fired. It's not actually that. Tucker Carlson felt threatened by this show. That's right, folks. The show's on during his time slot, and I was drawing viewers away from him. And he just decided to pack it up and call it quits. I get it, Tucker. I'm an up-and-comer, and I wouldn't want to go up against me either, Tucker. So I understand your move. I'm just kidding, obviously. Again, Tucker doesn't even know who I am. But it does appear that this was not voluntary. Tucker didn't know this was happening. Obvious from his last show, he said, I didn't watch it. Sorry, Tucker. Did say I'll see you next Monday. So that's sort of a giveaway that he didn't know that it was coming. I wrote a joke down, but I missed it, and I can't go back and do it now. That sucks. It was a good joke, too. It was a joke about my mom being proud of me. But sorry, Shelly, I missed it. You would have laughed at it, too. You're probably the only one who would have thought it was funny. All right, so what do we know? We know that we just had the Dominion lawsuit. So that's expensive, right? Even though there's people saying, well, they're owned by BlackRock and Blackstone, and they're all owned by the same. I don't know about that. I'm not going to get all conspiracy on that. Maybe they are owned by maybe they are paying themselves. But for now, I'm just saying Fox got to pay Dominion a lot of money. And if from Fox's perspective, Tucker cost them that money, they had to choose one or the other. I don't know. Maybe that's it. But it's also coming after. But Bongino couldn't come to terms with they couldn't reach an agreement on a contract. So Bongino's gone. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard about that one. Bongino's gone. And then Tucker just did that interview with Elon Musk where Elon put a lot of people on blast and just does his normal Elon stuff and sheds light on things that the cathedral doesn't want light shed on. And then there's the Ray Epps thing. 60 Minutes. It's just this puff piece on Ray Epps, which If you guys don't know who they are, I'm sure all you guys know who Ray Epps is. But Ray Epps, if there's anybody that was on video inciting an insurrection, it was Ray Epps. There's probably nobody else on video that has more footage of him telling people very specifically what to do and directing people. And for some reason, this guy isn't charged. He was on the FBI wanted list and he got taken off. And, Baked Alaska. There's a video. Baked Alaska is a dude that got locked up. I think he's a content creator too. I don't know much about it, but that's his name, Baked Alaska. He was on video next to Ray Epps. I believe this is Baked Alaska. Next to Ray Epps, and Ray Epps is saying, "We got to go into the Capitol." Freaking, and he just looks like a Fed too. He just straight up looks like, an old dude that was in the service for a long time, and I don't know. It just looks like a Fed. Baked Alaska's just all, "No, Fed." It's like right to his face too. It's really funny. Just called him out, and it did seem super Feddy. But anyway, then CNN decides to do this big puff piece on him. Remember, they hate MAGA. So the number one guy that caused the insurrection, J6, this and that, they should hate this guy. Even if the right thinks he's a Fed, they should also hate him because they think he's just MAGA. Instead, they're like, "Look what MAGA did to poor Ray Epps." And they're trying to do this like puff piece on him. It's insane. And it's so obvious too. It's so transparent. But anyway, that just happened. That just happened with Ray Epps thing. So you got Dominion, the Elon interview, Bongino, and Ray Epps interview, puff piece that now Tucker can't respond to. And he's been the one that's been railing against Ray Epps, talking crap about him the most. And then also, I don't know if this is coincidence, but Don Lemon gets fired today too. That's just so weird. Like, what the heck? Like, same day? Really? Nobody cares, though. It's so funny how nobody cares that Don Lemon got fired. Like, even people on the left. Just nobody cares. It's like, thank God he's finally gone. Hopefully he stops tweeting. Does he not have I hope he doesn't have a blue check either. I hope he's doing that whole the blue check meltdown. I hope Don Lemon's like, "I'm not paying for Twitter." It's like, good. Disappear into the abyss. Your relevance has been over for at least 4 years. 3 years. Yeah. Don Lemon, nobody cares. I'm sorry, nobody cares. Actually, I'm not sorry. You are a rich bazillionaire. They probably are. They're probably still paying you too. So I do not care, Don Lemon. I do care about Tucker because Tucker helped me out. Tucker slightly changed my life a little bit. So yeah, all that's what we know. All that stuff. And Tucker didn't leave voluntarily. People started speculating early on, like all sorts of random stuff on what could have happened. I think this is before it came out that he did not leave voluntarily, but like people like Patrick Bet-David were speculating that maybe he was going to run for president, or maybe Trump had tapped him for VP. I'm not buying that at all. I mean, Tucker's not even a Trump guy, and I don't see Tucker going into politics. I don't see that, and I'll get into why later, because I think something has happened to Tucker over the last 3 years. People call him controlled opposition. I don't think he is. I think he was. I don't think he is anymore. I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to trigger some of you, but I don't think Tucker Carlson is controlled opposition, and I think this is a clear sign of that. So Patrick Bet-David speculated there might be something else going. I'm sorry. I put my whiteboard that I like sort of draw out my whole show for. I put it slightly behind my shelf, so I just have to tilt my head just out of range of the microphone, so it kind of sucks. But Patrick Bet-David was speculating that it's other stuff, and the other stuff that would make Tucker leave Tucker Carlson tonight, not voluntarily. Yeah, that other stuff is the CIA. This is why I'm saying that. So they call him. I think Fox News is controlled opposition, and I think Tucker Carlson got too big for his britches. I think he's been too big for his britches for a long time, but Fox didn't know how to get rid of him. And giant contract. And I think Tucker has changed over the years. I mean, so let's just look. Let's go way back. Post 9/11, Tucker was a supporter of the Iraq War. Like big time, like very pro-war, supporting Bush on that whole thing. And he was just on the what podcast was that? A very popular podcast. I think the same one that Trump just went on. But he was just on that podcast, and he was talking about how he was ashamed that he was pro-war then. There's so many. I don't think Tucker's controlled opposition because he specifically calls himself out. He calls out what he was wrong in the past about. And he talks about how he's sort of had a red pilling, an awakening, where he sees that media is not there for the people. It is there to control a narrative and give people their ideas, to not allow people to think for themselves. And for a very long time, he thought that he was part of something that was helping people be informed and helping people make good decisions and understand what's going on in the world. And slowly over time, he's realized that he's actually been part of a system that's doing the exact opposite. He's been part of a system that is literally perpetuating lies, perpetuating the same talking points across all media outlets, and presenting a narrative that is presented by the deep state. I mean, Glenn Greenwald goes into much detail on how they specifically do it. But they do. These talking points come from the government. Our state, our media is state media. We make fun of Russia, RT, and we call it Pravda and all that crap. We have the exact same thing. We are so propagandized in the West, and we think that we have free speech and free media and access to information. We don't. Everything is heavily, heavily censored and restricted as much as they could possibly do it. If they could straight take everything away from us, if they could do what the CCP did, the intranet, they would do it. They would absolutely do it. And they inch a little closer towards that every day. And I think Tucker saw that. I think Tucker woke up to that. And that's what's happened. And he started saying, all right, I'm the biggest anchor on corporate press. I got the biggest audience. There's a reason for that, because the more he started speaking actual truth and calling out BS and saying what's going on, the more popular he got. Because people are like, oh crap, this fool's he's actually saying some shit. He's actually speaking truth to power. And the more he did that, the more popular he got and the more powerful he got, which made it more difficult for them to get rid of him. Well, I think they just reached a breaking point. Well, not even reached a breaking point. I don't know what the catalyst for this was. I don't know if there was something specific that happened. Maybe it was the Ray Epps thing, where they didn't want him to respond to, they didn't want him talking more about the CIA, because Tucker straight up talks about Ray Epps being a Fed and January 6th and how it was infiltrated by the feds. And the whole January 6th thing was a setup, straight up. Oh man, I'm on YouTube right now. Well, there goes that channel. Whatever. I don't even care anymore. See, that's the thing too. I have to think about what I say because I'm streaming on a platform that I know will give me a strike if I say something that they deem is incorrect. Well, they don't have to prove that they're correct about anything. They just have to say that I'm incorrect. And I'm not saying that I know for sure 100% that Ray Epps is a Fed. I'm not saying for sure 100% that I know that the FBI had infiltrated the crowd on January 6th and broke windows, and there was agent provocateurs and there was people changing clothes. Actually, I am going to say that for sure. I am going to say it. I know they were. Yeah. There was agent provocateurs on it January, and Tucker Carlson talked about all that stuff. And I think him talking about that, you can't call that controlled opposition. I mean, there's a lot like the the Ukraine war, for example. It's like all of a sudden everybody starts aligning when it comes to war. Whenever it's time for us to go to war, the time they want us to go to war, all of a sudden there's bipartisan support across the aisle, and all of a sudden CNN and Fox News are getting along again. It's weird. It's weird how that works. Whenever there's war afoot, everybody starts, we gotta be pro-America. We gotta go spread freedom and democracy. Which will bring me to Sudan a little bit later. And I think that's actually the most important thing going on right now, Sudan. But this Tucker thing's a big deal. But maybe that's also why, because this whole proxy world war that's going on right now is just escalating and escalating and escalating every single day. And maybe they don't want us looking at it so hard right now, because Sudan is a shit show right now. Sorry, Shelly. I forgot to say earmuffs before. I'm supposed to warn Shelly when I curse. Yeah. So I think that's why they got rid of Tucker Carlson. I think he just started being too independent and thinking for himself too much and saying, F you, I'm going to do my own show. I'm not going to use your talking points. I'm going to have my own producer. And I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Maybe he was controlled opposition. Maybe this is all one giant psyop. I don't know. This is just my perspective. And Tucker's he's a nice dude. He's a cool dude. He was very nice to me. Would have been cool if I could have met him in person, but so Fox still has, I think it's like 90 something of the top 100 news shows. So I think Fox is sort of figuring that they can get rid of Tucker and weather this storm, which is logical. They got Gutfeld, they got Jesse Waters, they got Ingram, they got Brett Baer, they got The Five. I mean, that is a lot. Those are popular shows that do good numbers. And they could be right. They're not going to replace Tucker. They know that. But maybe they can sort of take Tucker's giant time slot and distribute those numbers out and make all the other shows blow up a little bit more, get each show to have 10% more viewing. I don't know. Maybe that's their plan. But the thing is, this stuff's contagious. Standing up, freedom, liberty. Yeah. This shit's contagious. And I think people are feeling what Tucker's doing. I think Tucker's colleagues might be feeling what he's doing. And I know they'll never watch this, but Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfeld, it's time to do what Elon Musk and Tucker are very similar in the regard that they're some of the only ones that are really sticking their neck out there. Everyone's coming for Elon right now. Look what he's doing. Look what Tucker's the only one talking about the things that he talks about in the corporate press. And they're coming for him hard. And he's really stuck his neck out. That's contagious, though. So what if Gutfeld started doing the same? What if they started talking about all the same stuff that Tucker talked about? What if they started going off script? What if they started going rogue? Fox wouldn't be too happy about that, but what could they do? Controlled opposition is you can't control people. You can influence them. We all saw what happened during COVID, how people will behave when they're pushed even a little bit. When people are even slightly scared or presented with a little bit of opposition, they'll simply back off and do what they're told. Most people. But when those same people see people standing up and doing righteous shit, it makes them want to stand up and do righteous shit too. Who knows? Maybe Tucker's going to start something here. Maybe people are going to start speaking out. Maybe there is hope, guys. The corporate press is just bleeding out. All of them. I mean, Fox News was the only one that was doing decent. And that was mainly because of Tucker. Granted, Gutfeld's like the number one late night show, even over like, I don't even remember their names. All the stupid late night hosts, the annoying ones. Sorry, I should check the chat. KJ Mech. Oh, hey, how's it going? Hey, Pig Grabber, how's it going? Yes, Tucker is way better off now. He's got his own show. Tucker could go anywhere. Tucker could do whatever he wants now. This is a blessing for him. I'm sure they had to cash out his contract too. Tucker's in good shape. I think the only thing that probably sucks for him is he's probably got some sort of non-disclosure where he can't say too many details about what actually happened. But I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that conference room when that conversation went down. And they told Tucker this is the end of the line. And Tucker said, I want to know what Tucker said. I would have, because Tucker's got balls. And I would have loved to hear him. I hope he gave him the business. I hope he called them all phonies and frauds and liars and thieves, because that's what they are. It's independent media is the way forward. People. So I'm a huge fan of Timcast. I've been a big fan of Tim Pool for a very long time. I've been following Tim Pool for a very long time. I mean, kind of since I started like paying attention to politics. Tim Pool's one of the first people that I discovered. And that's because YouTube used to be like the Wild West. And it would actually give you stuff that was similar to stuff that you were already viewing. So Tim Pool would pop up in my feed all the time. He's just random videos and Vice News stuff. He just did a lot of random shit. He was just everywhere. Tim Pool was everywhere back in the day, back in like 2012, 2013, 14, back then. And then he started blowing up. He kind of started blowing up back then when I saw him, but like he really hit a new level. And then he started building something. And I don't think I ever even want like a castle or anything like that. In fact, I kind of probably want to stay on my own as long as I can, because the more people you introduce, I don't like look at the Steven Crowder and Dave Landau stuff, but I'll get into that a little later. There's so much drama. I'm starting to see now all the drama between content creators and like people that are in this space that I always thought got along and talked about the same stuff and pretty much agree on all the same stuff, but they're like, there's beef. Like a lot of shit I didn't know. So I think I don't have any desire to build like a Timcast type thing, but if I could make this my career where I support myself and I could, feel comfortable like meeting somebody and building a family and that kind of crap, because isn't that the American dream, and like having a chicken coop and a farm, and like I want like a mini horse, and goats. I don't want anything fancy. I really don't. But yeah, Tim Pool, Timcast, like that show really inspired me. And I think that and Viva Fry. There's a lot of content creators, but like specific, like Tim Pool and Viva, they're not really similar, but Tim Pool is trying to bring people information that isn't being presented in the mainstream press. And he's doing a good job of it. And he's letting people are becoming more aware because of Tim's show. And same thing with Viva Fry. He did a lot of good stuff he's done a lot of good stuff his whole career, but especially during the COVID changed everything for everybody. But the trucker convoy stuff, how Viva covered that and got so many eyes on that up there. Like independent creators are the way forward, I think. And that's why I'm really going hard on Rumble and yeah, I'll be going hard on Odyssey as well, and I'm trying to build my locals thing, but I'm putting everything I can into this, not only because this is my dream, but because now it feels like I'm actually part of the fight. Like, what was I doing before? I was actually working for the people that hated me. The rich I actually like rich people that busted their ass, especially rich people that didn't always have money, people that built something and acquired wealth. Those people I greatly admire, and I love to meet them and talk to them. But rich people around here, especially rich people that have acquired their money through fraud, which is a lot of people, and it's fake money, it's credit, it's moving money from a place to like FTX type shit. It's all fake. Like, those people are the worst. They're the worst of the worst. They treat everyone horribly. And when you're working for those people, when they hate you. I've been not allowed in clients' houses because I'm not vaccinated. Like, straight up. One of the funniest things that happened during COVID, and this was when everybody could have had their vaccines, all this, but it was in peak hysteria when I was working for the same company that I got fired from. I showed up at a house, and like, the dog had come outside and it had a shoe in its mouth. And I love dogs, and it's got a shoe in its mouth, and I'm petting it. I love dogs. And I'm like squatting down in the catcher position. The lady comes out of her house and she's like, "Hey, are you guys vaccinated?" She's like standing far away, like kind of in the doorway. And the two guys I'm with both just look at me too. They're like freaking jerks. They don't just answer, and I'm like, as I'm petting her dog, I was just all, "I'm not," and just start backing away from her dog because I knew she's going to freak out. And they both said that they're not as well. Because, yeah, the two guys that I was with weren't vaccinated either. And yes, this is the Bay Area in California. There's a lot of us here that didn't take the vaccine, that aren't buying into all this bullshit. But anyway, all of us got kicked out. None of us were allowed in the job. Funny thing is, all three of us are uber healthy people. One of the guys I was with is like 67, I think, and his name's Dave, and you'd think he's 50. And he used to do triathlons, and he's just in amazing shape. And then the other dude that I was with, I'm not going to say his name, I don't want to put him on blast, but he's also in great shape. Martial arts guy. Like, the people that were super healthy and didn't want to take it because they were like, "No, I'm not scared of the virus, and this thing is not going to do anything except maybe hurt me, so no." Oh man, I'm so gonna get kicked off of YouTube. But the healthiest people are the ones that did that, and then we were the ones discriminated against the most. I wasn't allowed in restaurants in San Francisco. Like, I got fired for this shit, like I just talked about. It was real here. It was real. Like, when the vaccines started becoming widely available where everybody could take them, I was coaching Little League. So all the questions are like, "When are you going to get your vaccine? When are you going to get you're around the kids. When are you going to get your vaccine?" Like, that started happening as I was coaching Little League. So the whole thing was bad. And then one lady vaccinated her kids super early, a 12-year-old. Man, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm parched. I need some Red Bull. So yeah, this whole Tucker thing just sort of, I don't know. I guess it hits close to home because I didn't even watch his show. I don't have cable. I would watch clips here and there that I see floating around, and I have my clip from when I was on the show, but I didn't watch his show too much. But I would watch like extended long segments of him talking, and I agreed with a lot of the stuff he said. He was kind of like uber conservative sometimes and like over the top about it. I am a Californian, I'm more libertarian, but I agreed with Tucker a lot. And I'm also the type of person that if you're a genuine good person and you believe something, even if it's complete opposite of what I believe, and you present it in an honest way and you're open-minded, I'll get along with you. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, and that you could be on the right or on the left. It doesn't matter as long as you're honest about it. But sorry, didn't agree. I didn't align with Tucker a whole lot. But when this thing went down, this is like I don't know. This seems like a moment. This seems extra for some reason. And it just seems like there's way more behind it. But yeah, so yeah, I basically think this is because Tucker grew a conscience over the course of the last 10 years and really woke up over the last 3 years. And that's why this happened today. Tide is turning, folks. Take the white pill. Okay, my dog's freaking out. Sorry about that. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Done talking about the Tucker stuff. I'm sorry. I don't know what my dog was freaking out about. I got to check though. Chiba. That's not even my puppy. That's my German Shepherd. She's acting all weird. I hope they didn't find a raccoon. I came home one day and they had a raccoon chase up the tree. Man, poor thing was up there forever. Alrighty. Next thing. What do I got on the list today? Well, I'll really quick. You guys hear about Alec Baldwin? Alec Baldwin's gonna walk. He just dropped the charges. He's back on the set of Rust already, filming the movie. Unbelievable. Like, dude got away with murder, in my opinion. 2-tier justice system. It's unbelievable to me. It was a single action pistol. He pulled the trigger. He pointed the pistol at her and pulled the trigger. He's gonna walk anyway. I didn't want to talk about that too much. Just one. If you guys hadn't heard, Alec Baldwin, he's gonna walk. All right. So Steven Crowder and Dave Landau. Drama. Content creator drama. And this sucks because so people have been wondering what has been going on with Dave Landau for a long time because he hadn't said anything, and he finally went on the Michael Malice show, which is called You're Welcome, spelled Y-O-U-R, welcome, Y-O-U-R, not Y-O-U''re, welcome, and it's a play on words, and it's not incorrect. He's not spelling it wrong. He's just dicking with you because Michael Malice is the ultimate troll. Think of it as if you said the sentence, consider this your welcome. This is your welcome to the show. It's not spelled wrong. He's just using it in a different context. That's the name of his show. And even the name of his show is meant to trigger people. That's what Michael Malice does. Anyway, he had Landau on, and Landau just let it all out. He said everything. And you do have to take things with a grain of salt because this is just, Dave's perspective. Thing is, I just really like Dave Landau. I always have. He's freaking hilarious. Some guys just have a voice that is hysterical. And Dave Landau's got one of those voices I don't know how his stand-up is. I've never seen his stand-up, but his like little comments to add to somebody else's comment are hysterical. He's so witty and quick-witted, and the way he uses his voice and his inflection is so hysterical. And on top of that, he just seems like a really nice, genuine person. And that's the vibe I get from Dave Landau. Steven Crowder, though I've watched his show and I agree with a lot of stuff that he says. He's very smart. He argues very well. I agree. I agree with him on a ton of stuff. I greatly appreciate his show and just what he's done, but the dude has always bugged me. He's always just seemed like, for the lack of a better word, he's just always seemed like kind of a jerk to me, and like unnecessarily jerkish, and I just never really vibed like that. Like being mean for the sake of being mean type person. Like I don't like that. I don't like being mean for the sake of being mean. I'll be mean, but that's if, that's like a mess with the bull, you get the horns type situation. Not trying to just go around being mean for the sake of being mean. Well, maybe I do. People have made me meaner. lately, last 3 years, but that's not the point. That's just always been sort of the vibe I got from Steven Crowder. And then there was this big con stuff that he did not too long ago. You guys remember that? The whole big con thing came out, and his thing with the Blaze, like his contract was coming to an end, and I don't know if he was going to renew it, but they wanted to like keep his mailing list and or his email list. Like he wasn't happy with the Blaze, and then he started negotiating with the Daily Wire, and they gave him like a term sheet, and not even a contract to sign, like a term sheet. Like he could have brought it back to him, and he didn't like it, even though it was a pretty big contract, but there were some, funny terms in there. But he started presenting it as this whole giant thing, like he's going to battle for the little guy. He's going to battle for the guy that's trying to grow, the content creator that doesn't have anyone in his corner, that, if he was forced to sign a contract like that, like he tried to present it like he was going to bat for me. And I didn't get that at all from the whole situation, especially after I heard Jeremy Boring talk about it. And then I heard Candace Owens talk about it. And it really just seemed like Steven Crowder started negotiating with the Daily Wire, was still pissed about the Blaze stuff, and recorded a conversation, a phone call with what he called his friend, Jeremy Boring. And when he was given an offer, instead of going and negotiating with the Daily Wire like an adult, he decided to take the phone call that he recorded, release bits of it. Well, he did that after Jeremy Boring responded. He just used it as backup ammo at this point. But then release details about the terms and start complaining about them. The whole thing from the get-go to me just seemed like drama, bullshit, complaining about numbers and politics and money and all that shit. And, well, then Landau goes on Malice's show and lets it all out. And I don't want to speak for Landau, so I encourage everybody to go watch it. Michael Malice's show, You're Welcome, Y-O-U-R, welcome. Follow him on his locals. I'm sure he's on Rumble, but I watch him on YouTube. I know, I hate it. Rumble just really kind of sucks sometimes, and I'm hoping they get better. They don't seem to work when you're out and about in the real world. Rumble doesn't work as well as YouTube. It like buffers and yeah, anyway, and their search engine sucks. I complain about Rumble a little bit every episode. Yeah, so Michael Malice has him on. I don't want to speak too much for Landau, but hold on. I'm trying to get caught up here. So there's like just Steven Crowder was just pretty much a jerk to him, and just seems like very narcissistic behavior. And his terms with Landau they treated him like a wage slave. Like that was one of the things that stood out to me was Steven Crowder put a lot of emphasis on the fact that Jeremy Boring was saying like, well, yeah, I'm giving you this giant, massive $50 million contract, but yeah, anybody else that came in would have like a salary contract. They would have to be a wage slave. And he used that term, and Steven Crowder made a big old deal about it. Well, if the Daily Wire came to me, a brand new content creator, and wanted to make me a wage slave and offered me $150,000 a year, well, I would be freaking ecstatic. Are you joking? Especially if it was like a 3-year contract. And well, first of all, now it's like, 50 grand more than I was making. I can do what I've always wanted to do. And if I can negotiate into my contract to where it's like after 3 years, we can either renegotiate or we can part ways, and I like take my following that I've built with me, dude, that's a huge win for me. And if it's a win for them, so I don't get it. Yeah. So him making the big old deal about the wage slave thing of Jeremy Boring saying that, like, first of all, he said it, like tongue in cheek, wage slave. It's just, I don't know. He tried to make a big thing about it, but oh jeez, I got another dog barking. Hold on. Molly. I don't even know if you guys can hear her. She's so old she can barely bark anymore. It sounds like she's so old. You guys would love her. Her name's Molly. She's 15. She's a lab. Yeah. So he just whoa, my lights started freaking out. I pushed a button. I'm sorry. What color do you guys like? I like the green color. I don't like it doing that though. Yeah, I like the teal color. That's kind of like the color of my show. Because it's the color of the interior of my Chrysler. And that's the picture that is like the CaliBased theme is the interior of my Chrysler. Yeah. So the way he was treating Dave was, well, he didn't want to. He came up with a light, like a do not talk Dave light. He didn't like Dave making somewhat vulgar jokes. He didn't like him saying the word "come." He was just very unreasonable with hours, and then there was stuff with this tour that Dave did. A lot of it is just kind of drama, but it's just funny that Crowder makes this giant stink about the big con and how the Daily Wire and the Blaze walk all over everybody, and he's sticking up for the little guy, and then he's going and just basically paying Dave Landau not great. He decided to give Dave Landau his own show, his own Friday show on like the Daily Crowder network, whatever, but he didn't increase his pay. He was like, I'm going to give you a new show, so you're going to be creating new content, have a show, but we're not going to give you any additional money. So I don't know. I'm only hearing Dave's side of it, but there was some other things. Then there was also, Jared, Quarter Black Jared, his abrupt departure. When Landau and Crowder got in a big old argument, I guess Crowder is saying stuff like, I own you. And I don't know. Just seemed very narcissistic to me. And that's sort of the whole vibe that I got from him anyway. And yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm getting. So yeah, Dave Landau will not be going back on Steven Crowder. They are not cool. And Landau got his own show on the Blaze, and Quarter Black Jared will be joining him. And I kind of hope they stop calling him that. I hope they just call him Jared, because I feel like Steven Crowder gave him that silly name, and well, it's just silly. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. But you should go watch that show, just because, Landau's a cool dude and Mouse is a cool dude too. And if you guys want to really know what's going on, listen to the whole show. It's like an hour and a half worth your time. So yeah, I think you're pretty much caught up on that stuff now. All right. So I think we should actually get into what I think is the important stuff now, which is Sudan. What's going on in Sudan? Basically, we're fighting another proxy war in Sudan. U.S. and Russia. There's two generals in Sudan that each have their own factions, and they used to be allies. Now they're not, and they're warring against each other. Russia wants to build a naval base in, I think it's the Red Sea right there in Sudan. And the Sudanese government said, okay, they wanted to do it. America's not too stoked about it. Apparently, they already signed the deal with Russia. And now, well, it almost looks like there's a coup. And it's like, it looks like, I don't know, my tinfoil brain is like, oh, Russia wants to build a naval base in Sudan. The Sudanese government agreed to it. And now all of a sudden, there's a warring general that doesn't want that to happen. Like, this just smells like CIA-backed coup to me. So I don't know. I got a bunch of videos that we can watch on it, that of people that are way smarter than me that can explain it. So go back to StreamYard here. Yeah, I'm gonna play like 4 different videos for you guys now, because I think they will be able to explain it to me much better. Explain it to you. I'm sorry. So, all right. Alrighty. Hopefully you guys can hear and see this.
Sudan has plunged into war between the Sudanese army led by General Al-Fatah Burhan and the Rapid Support Forces, which began as a force under the umbrella of the army and which has since transformed with the help of the UAE into a militia led by Mohammed Hamdan Doglo, more widely known as Hemeti, and his brother. The reason war has broken out is because the army chief Burhan has sought to merge Hemeti's militia with the army, a move that Hemeti knows would clip his wings and take his power away. But it's more complex than that. It's not just that Hemeti is angry that Burhan wants to clip his wings, but also the reason why Burhan wants to do it. The army chief Burhan has been under significant pressure to hand over power to the Forces for Freedom and Change, a group of civilian parties made up of leftist parties, the Communist Party, and the Ummah Party, once led by the late Sadiq al-Mahdi, and which enjoys international backing from Washington and the like. Burhan has reneged on agreements signed with them to hand over power. The reason Burhan refuses to hand over power to the Forces for Freedom and Change is twofold. Firstly, he wants to rule. Secondly, when the civilian parties had the chance to push for elections when al-Bashir was toppled, they didn't. In fact, the civilian parties instead insisted on the opposite, that elections should not be held because they feared that the Islamists would most likely win. And so they instead entered into a deal in which Burhan would rule for 2 years, and then he would hand over power to them without elections, and they would then rule for years under a so-called transition and embark on sweeping changes to the nation and the state without a mandate. When 2 years passed, Burhan not only refused to hand over power, but he toppled the government, released some Islamists from prison, and then threatened to hold elections if the international powers forced him to hand over power. In a panic, the US, UAE, and civilian parties entered into new negotiations with Burhan. Last November, Burhan was pressured into an agreement to hand over power. To navigate himself out of it, he insisted that civilian participation be expanded to include more civilian parties, essentially diluting the power of the Forces for Freedom and Change. In their frustration, they began to rally around Hemeti on the basis that Hemeti could be convinced to use his militia to take power himself and then hand power over to them without elections. This is why Burhan in February announced that Hemeti's militia should be merged with the army, and Hemeti has reacted by launching a coup instead.
All right. So that is Sammy Hamdi. I just started following him. I also want to tell you guys how to use Twitter. If you guys want to really know, if you want to search for your news and know in real time exactly what's happening, Twitter is the best news aggregator out there for sure. It's got a great search engine and the trending tab is good. The For You trending tab is actually good as well. And if you hear something's going on, you can search that hashtag or just the name of whatever it is in Twitter search engine and find in real time the most current things that are going on about it. So Twitter is a way better search engine for news aggregation than Google. And that's how I found Sammy Hamdi. You just go in the search engine, type in Sudan, and go down the rabbit hole. See what everybody is saying about Sudan. You can see everybody's different perspective. There's so they're talking about how they got Americans out of Sudan, but who's got it really bad in Sudan right now is the Nigerians that are stranded there. And I'll let this woman explain, but there's Nigerians that can't get out of this main city that they're warring in, and they can't get to Ethiopia is where they're trying to get to. And here's a woman explaining it. So it's me. Actually, hold on. Let's see which one I want to watch here. Yeah, okay, that one. So this woman is from Nigeria and she's trapped in Sudan right now and she can't get out. No, wrong one. I'm sorry, guys. That is one that I want to show you. Oh, man. I don't even have it, so I'll just show you that one for now. I'll go back to this one. This is just another gentleman explaining what's going on. And again, this is just some random person I found on the internet explaining what's going on. So take it with a grain of salt, but he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he's in Sudan. So go ahead and give him a listen.
Of innocent of the fighting that is going on in Sudan. What's happening there is more than meets the eye. And it's time for the world to discuss the actual truth of what is going on there. America and Russia are at it again, just as they did 60 years ago during the Cold War, when they fought proxy wars right here in Africa, leading to the death of thousands of innocent Africans. They are at it again in Sudan, fighting a proxy war. Let me explain. Two factions of the Sudanese military are fighting each other. One of them is led by Lieutenant General Mohammed Hamdan, head of the paramilitary group known as Rapid Support Forces. The other faction is led by the Sudanese Army Chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. So why are they fighting? This is where Russia and USA come into the picture. You see, in the last couple of months, Russia has finalized a deal with Sudan to establish Russia's naval base in Sudan's Red Sea coast. America is not too happy with that. Actually, they're furious. America's ambassador to Sudan, John Godfrey, expressly warned Sudan not to seal that deal with Russia, but they're going ahead and doing just that. And so when the paramilitary unit began fighting the other faction of the army, that wasn't happening in a vacuum. The big problem is that you're not going to hear this in the mainstream media. Neither are you going to hear a lot of African governments voicing this, which is very unfortunate, because Africa must learn to speak its truth and stand on this truth, because truth will set you free. So it is left to the African people, we the African people, to speak this truth and tell America and Russia to get off Africa, to get their hands off Africa. The days of the Cold War, the days of the shenanigans of the Cold War are completely over, and they cannot fight proxy wars in Africa at the expense of innocent African lives. That has to stop. The fighting in Sudan must stop. The puppet masters must stop their evil, diabolic games.
I don't know if you guys ever met anybody or have any Nigerian or Ethiopian or Kenyan friends, but you can just tell by this is probably just an ordinary man over there, but you can tell how informed he is, and you can tell how passionate he is. People like that have like a magnetic pull, because that's not small talk that he's talking about. And I bet you that man isn't capable of small talk. He's speaking for his people. That man's on a mission. That man is on a mission for humanity and his people. And you can just tell in his voice. And I have two Nigerian friends, one named Patrick, and he's the exact same way. He's so passionate, the way he talks about everything, and he is incapable of small talk. And that's why I love talking to Patrick. But that man just reminds me very much of him. And usually people that have grown up in areas that have been surrounded by conflict, and they've seen death. The more, and I know this personally, the more death you've seen, the more serious you become, but also the more lighthearted you become in a little bit, in sort of a way, because you sort of realize the importance of each moment more. And it's really easy for people in societies that are just surrounded by death, like some of the videos that are coming out of Ethiopia right now are horrible. Large groups of people being beaten to death. Lots of these videos coming out. And that, being surrounded, seeing that, that'll change a person. It'll turn someone different. But people that fight against it and run away from it and survive that type of thing, it gives them a whole new perspective. And we don't have people like that here. So I'm just going off on a tangent. I like that guy. I like that guy a lot. There's a couple other videos I want to show. I want you to get 4 different people's perspective on this thing. So let me show you this one as well. And again, this is what I think is the most important thing going on right now. This proxy war in Ethiopia that nobody's even talking about. I think it's this one. Yeah, this guy. So this guy's talking about, I believe he's the one talking about the Ethiopians that are stranded there.
So remember when they said Africans do not like each other, right? This is what they actually mean in regard to what is currently happening in Sudan. Ethiopians wouldn't let Nigerians pass through their borders to get their ways back to Nigeria. We all know there is a crisis or war going on in Sudan right now, to the extent that even the Sudanese themselves are fleeing outside of Sudan. The Sudanese who are living in Khartoum are fleeing to their various villages. Almost everybody left Khartoum at the moment, which is the capital of Sudan, except for the international students, most of which are Africans. Some of them are women. They are left stranded in Sudan right now. All they do at the moment is to lie on the floor. Some of them are sick. Some of them are injured, allegedly. I have spoken with a lot of Nigerian students in Sudan. A lot of them have spoken out on social media. What they said is that one of the safest and easiest way to follow in order to leave Sudan at the moment is to get your way out from Khartoum to the Ethiopian border. And Nigerians try to follow that way with some other international students. Ethiopian immigration allowed every other nationality to pass through their country. Somali, Kenya, Djibouti, Yemen, and every other person except for Nigerians. They asked them to apply for a visa, which they did 3 days ago. Nobody is even looking into their visa application at the moment because there's a public holiday for Eid in Ethiopia. So they asked them to go back to Sudan while other people are passing. Even the Sudanese are passing, but they wouldn't let Nigerians pass. So they're indirectly asking them to go back and die, that we do not care about you, we only care about our neighbors. And remember at the beginning of Russia-Ukraine conflict, where all those white people wouldn't let black people pass through their borders. We came out in thousands on social media calling them racist. Ethiopia is giving us the same vibe. So we are using this medium to call on the attention of the Ethiopian government and the entire African Union to look into this case immediately. Thank you.
Man, that's
so
dirty.
Remember when they said Africans.
So, man, so there. So if I heard him, was he saying they won't let Nigerians go through Ethiopia from Sudan? So they're sending Nigerians back to Sudan to die, basically, while other people, as long as they're not from Nigeria, they can go ahead and go through Ethiopia. That is jacked up. That is seriously jacked up. All right. I want to play one more. Give you one more person's perspective on this. This is an actual reporter. She does work for CNN, but it's CNN in the UK. And she seems less biased than most CNN people. And she's super hot and has a British accent. So that's mainly the reason I'm sharing this. Watch again. Don't mind if I do.
Sudan is in the throes of a violent power struggle between units of the Sudanese army loyal to General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, which are led by General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemedti. The RSF has a brutal track record, and naturally the existence of a formidable fighting force outside of the army is a source of instability. Fighting broke out in
Look, she drew a little
Sudan on
map.
the 15th of April, that was last Saturday, and battles are raging in Darfur, the border regions, and predominantly the capital Khartoum, where over 6 million people live, many of whom are now trapped in their homes without the basics like water and electricity. The UN says that over 300 people have died, over 3,000 are injured, and ceasefires are breaking down as quickly as they're agreed. Now, this is happening in Africa's third largest country in the northeast of the continent, which borders 7 others: Eritrea, Ethiopia, South Sudan, which seceded from Sudan in 2011 after decades of brutal violence, Central African Republic, Chad, which closed its borders to Sudan the other day, Libya, and Egypt. Now, this is a volatile region of huge strategic importance. So regional and global players have a stake in what's going on here, including Egypt, the USA, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Russia, which is planning a naval base here on the Red Sea with access to the Indian Ocean. This conflict has roots that are decades deep.
All right, so I'm going to pause really quick. So did you hear what she just said? So there's a bunch of NATO nations, and then you got a bunch of BRICS nations. So Egypt, Russia already, they want Russia to have their, oh man, this is bad. Yeah, I really think that what's going down in Sudan could be the powder keg for World War III, because Russia wants to put a naval base there and USA saying no. And we're already pretty escalated already. After the pipeline, and then that Russian jet clipping the drone. Okay, let her talk more.
But the short version is that in 2019, the military mounted a coup to oust the longtime leader Omar al-Bashir. Since then, Sudan hasn't had a parliament. There was a unity government of civilian and military leaders to transition the country to full democracy. But then that was dissolved in October 2021. And then Burhan continued as leader, and Dagalo, his rival now, was his deputy. So in the intervening period, the acrimony between these generals who cooperated once upon a time has deepened, and that's over many disagreements, including how to incorporate the RSF paramilitary force into the regular army.
All right, she's hot. Okay. So, yeah, it looks like not even just proxy war with Russia and US. I mean, yeah, I really think this Sudan situation is bad, and it's not getting a lot of attention. And I think that could be, pay attention to Sudan, folks. Like, I think that's going to be a thing. All right. I do want to talk a little bit about the so according to Rep Andy Biggs out of Arizona, he tweeted, Secretary Blinken ought to be removed from office. He pressured former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morrell to produce a false letter signed by 51 intelligence officials to protect Hunter Biden during the 2020 presidential election. The move altered the election outcome. And if you guys remember, people referenced this document a lot. They said over 50. They kept saying over 50, and it's 51 intelligence officials. So he pressured former CIA Director Michael Morrell to produce a false letter signed by 51 intelligence officials to protect the Hunter Biden. So they all said that this is Russia collusion. These 51 intelligence officials said, no, the laptop's fake. It's Russian disinformation. And, well, he was pressured by the Biden. This looks bad. This looks really bad. I'll just play the video for you. I don't get it. I don't get how some information can come out, and no matter what side you're on, how you can't just be like, wait, what? Like that document that even Biden referenced in the debates with Trump, he even specifically said over 50 intelligence officials analyzed that laptop and said it was Russian disinformation, something along those lines. But he specifically said that, and it turns out that, like, well, that was probably at Biden's direction that document was created. Freaking wild, man. It's just wild. Man, I'm so gonna get kicked off of YouTube. I don't care either. YouTube is such trash. Yeah, let me show you let me at least show you the video of him talking about it.
What people need to understand is that Mr. Morell, who gave a deposition sworn testimony last week to the Judiciary Committee members, he said he would not have written that letter. He's the author of that letter. Mm-hmm. He would not have written that letter had he not received a call from Anthony Blinken. He said Anthony Blinken didn't ask him to write the letter, but we're left to surmise that he must have suggested it, because that's what Morell did. He wrote a letter. He got 51 people with gravitas, former CIA intelligence chiefs, security heads, to say this is Russian disinformation. And you know what? The left stream media bought it. They suppressed that information, and Joe Biden used it in a debate. And the reality is it influenced the election.
Well, we know that. I mean, when you talk to voters, they will tell you that if they had known the truth about certain aspects of this, it would have changed the way they looked at the candidate of Biden as being somebody who could bring the country together, because he had something going on potentially in the background. You mentioned a name, though, Anthony Blinken. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but he used to, he was very powerful inside of Biden's campaign. Now he's the Secretary of State. So whatever his role was in all of this, potentially protecting the family, he got a pretty good gig out of it. Your last quick thought.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to question that very thoroughly. Because it looks like it was kind of a payoff.
So Anthony Blinken, working for the Biden campaign, pressured former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell to produce a false document stating that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, and that document was then signed by 51 intelligence officials and presented as fact. After Biden was elected, Anthony Blinken was then given the Secretary of State position. How dirty is that? How obvious is it? And this isn't saying any fraud or foul play, but if that New York Post article breaking the Hunter Biden laptop story was allowed to circulate like everything else does, Trump would have won the election. And in my view, that in itself, the suppression of the laptop, especially with everything that has come out from the Twitter files regarding the suppression of that laptop and the circulation of that story, and then the CIA specifically saying that it was false, and then perpetuating that out through the mainstream media, that is election interference on the highest levels from government. This administration is illegitimate. Flat out. We don't have a legitimate government. Straight up. Sorry, YouTube. Suck it, Raj. Yeah, Rumble's the future anyway. I'm sort of assuming this will... I wonder if I'm even still alive on YouTube. Still alive over there? Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, looks like I am. How about that? All right, you guys are quiet in the chat. Nothing? No? All right. Pete Grabber, how you doing? KJ Mech, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, so that's that story. But so on the same note, so one of the mediums that the Hunter Biden laptop was suppressed was through Twitter. And even if you direct messaged, if you DM'd the New York Post article to somebody else on Twitter, direct message, your account would get flagged. You'd get suspended. That's insane. Direct message, not even tweeting it out, not posting it, sending it peer to peer. That's absolute madness. Well, you guys remember Matt Taibbi and Matt Schellenberger were put on the stand and made to testify in front of Congress, and they tried to railroad him, but it didn't go very well. Well, Matt Taibbi recently went on Mehdi Hassan's show on MSNBC, and I don't know why he did that. I mean, he knew it was just going to be a dishonest, railroading, straw man, garbage crap thing, and that's what it ended up being. However, Mehdi Hassan did end up getting him with a gotcha, and he basically got an acronym wrong that wasn't even gotten wrong by him. It was basically gotten wrong by the government and their reporting of it. It was about CISA and CIS. It was literally over one letter of an acronym. And he said CIS was CISA or CISA was CIS at one point. And even though one's private, one's government, even though the private one gets government funding and they do work with one another, whole thing's garbage. But they tried to basically discredit his whole testimony and say that he lied under oath. Now they want to put him in prison for 5 years. Matt Taibbi, the journalist that just broke the biggest story of the century. And nobody's paying attention to it and trying to say that it's Russian disinformation. It's just freaking madness. Again, you could show people just flat out, like, you could show I don't want to think of some sort of absurd example, but like literally Biden could probably fly a plane personally himself and go bomb Russia and have it on video and say, look what Biden did. And they would say, no, he didn't do that. It's Russian misinformation. And people would believe it. I don't know. That was a horrible example, but just people will believe anything that the mainstream media CIA talking points will tell them. It's absurd. There's Matt Taibbi went on and talked with Aaron Mate, who was filling in for Jimmy Dore on the Jimmy Dore show. So I want to play a little clip from that because it's Taibbi just sort of explaining himself. And Taibbi's so like soft spoken and like nice and like really thinks a lot about what he is trying to say. And it's just, you can't railroad like a more nice, honest, genuine person. It's just so stupid. Matt Taibbi is such a just nice guy, and he's a freaking liberal. Anyway, listen to Matt talk.
I mistook CIS for CISA in one of the acronyms, so he caught me on that. And when he presented me with it on the air, I immediately recognized, oh my God, I did make a mistake, and I said so. And then there was a mixed up date. He caught that. That was all in bounds. These were all totally in bounds questions. I don't think there's such a thing as an ambush interview. You're either prepared or you're not. What went wrong was afterwards, he went on Twitter and complained and accused me of lying to Congress. And in doing so, suggested that CISA, CISA, did not have a close relationship with Stanford's Election Integrity Project. He said that what I had done is substitute a civil society organization for an intelligence agency, and that was a major substantive difference. He apparently didn't know that all three of them were close partners. And so he made a mistake, which I pointed out Li Fang pointed out, everybody pointed out, but he didn't concede. And first Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saw it, and then I guess Stacey Plaskett saw it, and now they want to take me to prison over a mistake that they're making, which is mind-blowing. It's kind of amazing. So she wrote in her letter to me, I should read from this because it's kind of amazing. You were she wrote, rather, you were alleging that CISA, a government entity, was working with the EIP to have posts removed from social media. When presented with this misinformation, and by that she means on MSNBC, you acknowledged that you had made an error. So she's saying it's misinformation that CISA was working with EIP. Now, not only do we have, email after email and request after request that ended up at Twitter that has the names of all three organizations on it, but these organizations openly embrace their relationships. Like EIP on its own website says the EIP partnered with CISA in 2020. CIS on its website, there's a news release that says CIS CISA to block malicious websites for state local governments. You can look on the sort of web search for government awards and find that CIS got $37.9 million from the DHS that year. And there's just, both Lee and I have shown, a stack of these communications involving CISA and EIP. There's nobody is questioning that they had a very close relationship. I mean, there are graphics where they talk about, our partners at CISA, at EIP. So this is something that nobody's ever claimed that there wasn't a relationship, except for these people, Mehdi Hassan and Stacey Plaskett, which is so I'm baffled by the whole thing.
So that's just him basically explaining that they're trying to discredit all the work he's done on the Twitter files over getting one acronym wrong. Essentially, he's gotten he got something else a little bit wrong, but I think any honest person is perfectly fine with a journalist getting something wrong if, when they get it wrong, they come out and specifically say how they got it wrong, why they got it wrong, and how they're not going to get it wrong moving forward, and apologize for the mistake, which Matt Taibbi has always done. And again, there isn't like more of a nice, honest, genuine reporter out there. And it's the guys that really risk everything to bring you information that the cathedral does not want you knowing about, that they don't get paid crap, and they will go after him. Like, they're not going to put him in jail for 5 years, but them even saying that, that's just like a shot across the bow to other reporters that'll even think about going up against this crap. And then with his like little falling out with Elon, that kind of sucks too, because it's like you want Elon in your corner, and it's like, dude, Elon, if you watch this, follow Matt Taibbi back, man. The dude's getting railroaded, bro. And like, dude, if you guys had some sort of beef over his Substack, and come on, man, that's just silly, dude. Like, you guys are on the same team, and you guys need to be working together on this. Like, Matt's a cool ass dude. Elon, cut him a little slack, bro. Talk to the guy. Like, don't be weird, man. And monetize my Twitter, Elon. What the hell? All right, I think that. Well, what else do I want to say about the Twitter files? They've told us a lot, and I think the Fauci files are coming. The Twitter files aren't done. There's so much out there, and I wish Elon would have. He knows. There's got to be a reason why he's doing what he's doing, but I really wish he would release the information to a lot more people so it could get out a lot faster. And I feel like the way he's doing it, stuff's going to get overlooked because people are trying to scan through so much stuff so fast. So I don't know. I don't want stuff to get overlooked. But then right after that congresswoman or whatever her name is, I can't remember, was calling for Matt Taibbi to be locked up for 5 years. Then you've got before Tucker got fired, mind you, you've got silly AOC saying this crap. And again, this is before Tucker got fired.
Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do.
Oh, come on. No, I don't want to tweet.
It is very.
And I can fix her, guys. Look, they did the googly eyes to her again.
Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't.
Oh,
and when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. And that is the line that I think we have to be willing to contend with. Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other.
Sorry, that's the same. It's the same thing. I can't stand either of them, but am I the only one that? I mean, when any of you guys just kind of hoping they just might make out? Are you guys? Am I the only one? Just kind of hoping that. I mean, I didn't think it would happen, but I was hoping they might. They didn't, though. Yeah, I would. Joking. You can't fix AOC. She is hot, though. I don't care what you guys say. AOC is hot. Oof. I thought I ended the stream on accident. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, I didn't have a long show for tonight. There is probably another couple minutes, but there is the whole blue check meltdown going on right now, and I am going to do another show tomorrow because I actually had a different show set up to do tonight before the Tucker Carlson crap came out, and I can do a whole freaking show on the what is her name? Jazz Jennings. Yeah. Jazz Jennings, and that's what my next show is going to be about. It's going to be called Leave the Kids Alone, because I didn't know anything about Jazz Jennings. Again, Tim Pool. Like, I'm pretty tuned in, and I had no clue this whole I didn't know who Jazz Jennings was. I didn't know that there's a TV show about her. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole too much yet, but they're calling this thing Transhausen syndrome through proxy, like Munchausen syndrome through proxy. The Jazz Jennings shit's insane, and I'm going to do a whole show on that tomorrow. Not just Jazz Jennings, but just all the madness that's going on around this collective insanity around all that. But really quick, but I mean, the blue check meltdown right now is kind of hilarious because you got, people like Alyssa Milano, Bette Midler, Stephen King, the Krasensteins can't stop talking about it, and it's hilarious because I'm not paying $8 this and that. The thing is, some of them kind of got a point. There should be a way for people to get verified, this is who I am, without having to pay. Like, blue check aside, if there was even having different types of check marks, where there's a free one where you're verified, you've sent in your ID, and like they've verified you are who you say you are and all that crap, and it's like a super basic badge or whatever. And then there's Twitter Blue, where you have, you're verified, but you're paying, and you got extra features. Like, you can post longer video, you can edit your tweets. I think you should have multiple pinned tweets. That was something I thought about today. It'd be nice to have multiple pinned tweets. Like, I wanted to today because I have a tweet that's just always pinned. It's my Tucker video from when I was on Tucker Carlson. That's my pinned tweet. And then I would like to have a pinned tweet below that is like if you could have it for like all day or whatever. Like if I got a show that's happening that day to where it says I'm going live at 6 o'clock, I would like that to stay at the top of my profile the whole day. So when, I'm do 20 other tweets, that doesn't get pushed down towards the bottom. So it'd be nice to have like a second pinned tweet. So that could be like the Twitter Blue stuff. Now you're actually paying for features, So the celebrities, the fancy ones that don't want to pay and they just want to be verified, I do kind of get it. There has to be a way. Why does it? I get it. Like it costs money for Twitter to have a whole team in place to verify people. I get that. But you guys can afford it. I don't know. There's got to be a way to verify people for free. And I don't agree with the whole algorithm boosting thing if you got Twitter Blue, but hey, it's it's Elon's rules and I'm trying to play by them. But yeah, I am paying for Twitter Blue. I applied to be monetized on Twitter, and so many other people have too, and it's just been sitting there in purgatory for months. But people that got big accounts, they apply to get monetized, and it gets monetized like the next day. I'm looking at you, Josie, the redheaded libertarian. It's messed up, man. I saw how fast you got monetized. That ain't right. We're trying to get paid too. We work too, Josie. Yeah, so I feel like there could be different levels, different like tiers within Twitter, and I think Elon should hire me because I got all sorts of good ideas. I think I'm not going to give them away for free though. I already gave him the second pinned tweet thing. Yeah, you should be able to have multiple pinned tweets, Elon. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with bookmarks as a content creator. You could use bookmarks to sort of like set up your deck if you got a lot of content to present on your live streams. Anyway, yeah, so that's sort of like my 2 cents on the Twitter Blue checkmark thing. Everybody's freaking out and melting down. It is a joy to see, but I do kind of agree with them. There has to be a way to prove that you're not a bot without paying. Like, and people in other countries too, that like $8 in some countries probably a lot, it's a lot of money or something. I don't know. I don't think it is sort of elitist to me, and I don't like that. So I'll pay for extra features. I don't think I should have to pay to prove that I'm not a bot, and I shouldn't have to pay to get my account algorithmically boosted. That's a hard word to say. That's not what I'm paying for. I'm paying for features. I'm paying for longer video. I would be paying for cool bookmark features. I'd be paying for the ability to have multiple pinned tweets, that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that I would want to pay for. But I think everybody should be able to get verified and prove that they're not a bot. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. Yeah, I already talked about the Alec Baldwin thing. Stan, Matt Taibbi. Yeah, that's it. That was all I had for you guys. That's really it. But if you made it to the end of the episode, that means you that are watching this, if you're still watching, you think I'm doing something right, or you at least appreciate my work a little bit. So if you would be so kind, I would really appreciate that you go down to that little button and hit the thumbs up. Give this video a like. If you really want to help, you can share this video on your Facebooks or your Instagrammies, or you can't really share it on Instagram, but wherever you want to share it, that always helps. Send it to a buddy, freaking carrier pigeon. I don't care. Follow me on Twitter. That really helps. Retweet me on Twitter. All that stuff helps. I'm really trying to build this thing, guys. Like, I'm trying to work for myself, actually work for you guys, by spending my entire day going down rabbit holes, finding information, deciding what I think is most important, and presenting it to you in the most unbiased way I can, and then giving you my biased opinion on it. So I will always do my best to be accurate. I will always be honest. And if I get it wrong, I'll say I got it wrong. And I I genuinely care about this stuff. I genuinely care about people starting to have real conversations and not have their head buried in the sand. And that's why I want to do this like more geared towards California and be California specific about it, because there's not a lot of us out here. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. So like, share, subscribe. If you want to be a super homie, you can support me on Locals. All of my links are in the video in the description below. There's other ways to support me there as well, but Locals will be cool because that's where I want to actually start up like a local community, like people that are local to Santa Cruz that, you know, sort of think along these same lines. You don't have to agree with me on everything. I don't expect you to. I know I'm a freaking weirdo, but you know, if you're sick of all the zombie robot people around here that just fall in line with everything, and you just want to start having open dialogue again, then yeah, come join my Locals and let's start a community. All right, that's about it. But you guys know the deal. You guys know the deal. I end the show, every show, with one joke out of the greatest book ever created, The Truth About Chuck Norris. I was going to do them randomly, but I'm not going to do them randomly. I'm going to pick them up to a random page, but I'm going to scan the joke first to make sure it's decent, because some of these jokes aren't great, but some are hilarious. All right, I got the Chuck Norris joke. You guys ready? Okie dokie. Chuck Norris can travel through time by running at 88 miles per hour. And on that note, folks, stay CaliBased.